Moallem and Lavrov stressed on coordination between the two countries and the Syrian Arab discussions, asserting Syria's support in confronting terrorism. The Syrian Arab army advanced in Ain Tarma, Doukhania and Jobar in Damascus Countryside. And the Iraqi forces eliminate ISIS terrorists and regain control over Diala area. Good afternoon. Welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Dania Nizam. On the sidelines of the 69th session of the UN General Assembly, Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign and Expatriates Minister Walid al-Moallem met the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Talks focusing on the latest regional developments and the crimes of ISIS, Jabhat al-Nusra and other terrorist organizations in Syria and Iraq. The two sides also stressed the necessity of continuing coordination in all fields, emphasizing the importance of the Russian-Syrian Joint Committee's forthcoming meeting and the necessity of making its deliberations a success in light of the strategic relations between the two countries. Earlier, al-Moallem held talks with Iraq's Foreign Minister Ibrahim al-Jafari, discussing with him bilateral cooperation and coordination to confront ISIS and Jabhat al-Nusra, the dangers posed by the practices of these terrorist organizations in Iraq and Syria, including the slaying of civilians and the destruction of Arab, Muslim and Christian heritage and civilization, figured prominently during the meeting. Also on the agenda were the efforts to dry up the sources of financial and logistical support for terrorists. As he underlined the importance of coordination between Syria and Iraq, the Foreign Minister warned that the countries involved in the international campaign against the terrorist organizations might have different ulterior agendas. The two ministers made a point about the necessity that the strikes be focused on the terrorist organizations, spare the populated areas and respect the two countries' sovereignty. Minister al-Moallem also met with the Sudanese, Algerian and Democratic Korean foreign ministers. He clarified what Syria and Iraq are facing of terroristic acts by ISIS, Jabhat al-Nusra and other terrorist organizations for the past 3 years, supported by regional and international countries. Al-Moallem stressed that successful fights against terrorism should be started from the countries that are supporting the terrorists. Sudanese and Algerian foreign ministers stressed on their countries' identical visions with Syrians, asserting the need to exert pressure on the countries which are supporting the terrorist organizations to halt their financial arming and training support. As the two ministers stressed that their countries stand by Syria and Iraq in confronting terrorism. Al-Moallem met also Foreign Minister of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The two ministers emphasized the necessity of continuing bilateral meetings and coordination between his country and Syria, given the similarity in terms of the pressures exerted on both countries. Talks during the meeting dealt with bilateral relations and the situation in North Africa and Southeast Asia. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that combating terrorism in Syria had to be carried out in cooperation with the Syrian government that has voiced readiness to cooperate based on the UN Charter. Addressing the UN General Assembly in its 69th session held in New York, Lavrov said that ever since the Syrian crisis unfolded, Russia has called to unite efforts to combat terrorism, and that it has significantly contributed to that by supplying Syria, Iraq and other countries in the region with arms to confront the threat posed by terrorism. Lavrov pointed out that the United States and the EU have backed the coup in Ukraine, and that they were still backing Kiev's political attitude and supporting its policy in suppressing a part of the Ukrainian people. In Damascus Countryside, Syrian Arab Army units' operations continued in Doukhania and Ain Tarma by controlling important parts in the area and cutting the roads of supply. The Syrian Arab Army units, in cooperation with the national defense groups, tightened their grip over Adra al-Balad and New Adra towns. In a statement made by the Army General Command and the armed forces, that after a series of operations, the Army restored security and stability over Adra town and a number of plantations, factories and farms in the area. The General Command of the Army and Armed Forces said that Army units, in cooperation with the Popular Defense Forces, have established, after a series of accurate operations, full control over Adra al-Balad and Adra al-Jadida cities in Damascus Countryside. The command said in a statement that the new military achievement came in the wake of regaining control of Adra Workers City and the group of factories and industrial facilities and the surrounding farms. The statement said the army units have destroyed a wide network of tunnels and killed large numbers of terrorists who committed grisly crimes against peaceful civilians and used the area as a springboard for their attacks. The Army's engineering units are dismantling more explosive charges and mines, while Army units continue to carry out mopping up operations against residual terrorist groups in the area, added the statement. The military win, according to the statement, is particularly important given the strategic geographical location of the area at the capital's entrance, overlooking the international highway that links the central and southern regions. The area has been used as a conduit for terrorist groups who came to Ghouta to mount their criminal attacks, added the statement. After restoring security and stability to Adra al-Ummaliya city, Syrian Arab Army units have discovered dens used by the terrorists as a safe haven for those terrorists who have been wounded. A military source said that the dens have contained stolen and smuggled medical equipment. In Quneitra province, Syrian Arab Army units have foiled terrorist attempts to infiltrate al-Balad city, killing or wounding many of them. In Idlib countryside, Syrian Arab Army units eliminated a number of terrorists and injured others in the outskirts of Abu Dhuhr airport and destroyed 2 pickup trucks loaded with heavy machine guns and an ammunition warehouse. Syrian Arab Army units targeted terrorists' dens of the so-called Liwa al-Haq near al-Bu'abiya town, eliminating a number of them, injured others, destroyed their vehicles and a huge ammunition warehouse. In Homs, Syrian Arab Army units targeted terrorist hideouts in several towns and villages, including Masada and al-Tadmuriya, eliminated a number of them, injured others, and destroyed their criminal tools. The Syrian Arab Army units also killed and wounded terrorists in a series of operations in Tel Rastan and Ain al-Ghajar in Homs' northern countryside. The U.S. and its allies' jet fighters have launched early today strikes targeting the so-called ISIS headquarters in Raqqa province. Local sources in the province have indicated that the airstrikes have also targeted the plastic factory near Raqqa province and other ISIS dens in Tel Abyad city and Slough town, in addition to some primitive oil refineries in the province town, northern countryside. Iraqi army has restored control over a dam near al-Miqdadiyya city in Diala province after killing scores of the so-called ISIS terrorists. The Iraqi Air Force have bombarded ISIS dens and hideouts in al-Daluyat district south of Tikrit, killing 20 of ISIS terrorists. Earlier, Iraqi Air Force targeted the ISIS dens in al-Farisiya area north of Babel province. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching us. For more details about Syria and the region, you can always view this bulletin again on our website in English, syriaonline.sy. After the break, it's our weather forecast, and later, it's Vani with our economic and business news. God bless you all, and long live Syria.